What's up, guys? With White Rabbit Psychedelics, and I get a lot of questions of, is it safe? If I take a microdose capsule, will I go crazy? I'm a little weary. So I just wanted to do a quick little video on what happens when you take a pill, and just let you know that nothing crazy is gonna happen, nothing weird is gonna happen. I got a capsule right here. This is pure grade A, psilocybin. I'm gonna take a capsule, and I'm gonna just show you guys that just nothing can happen. Huh.
Claustrum is a really thin sheet of gray matter in the brain, tucked deep within each of the hemispheres of the brain.
Fred believes the claustrum's central location and shape suggest it regulates communication between the departments.
What happens next is that we seem to observe a radical change in the way that brain regions talk to each other. And it may be within this context that we're experiencing learning and a possible even rewiring of the circuits that govern our behavior. And it may be that it's that radical reorganization that allows people to encounter new psychological insights that they hadn't encountered before.
It's almost like they've seen this kind of grand menu within their mind that they weren't aware of, that this greater number of possibilities that they can explore.
It's like reprogramming the operating system of a computer. You're getting down to very basic code level changes that can enduringly change someone going forward.
Peace to the tribe, peace to the family. This is the Hood Mystic. I feel that my vibration has been too high, and I don't like that. So now I'm going to balance myself out with some low vibration shenanigans. And we're just going to react. This video is 13 minutes, 41 seconds long. This is a live reaction. I've never seen this video. But I'm pretty sure that it's gonna be some bad information because Shorty is very attractive. Why do attractive women give bad information? Because they never been in a situation where a motherfucker said, "Get your ugly ass up out of here, oh ugly ass motherfucker," and still manage to get yourself in the situation. Usually, not to say that people don't experience that as women, but you might get broken down because of that and never go back to that. Well, guys get told, "Get your ugly ass up out of here" all the time, and it never affects us. So just balancing it all out, I'm kind of rusty and dusty. She all like eloquent and well-spoken. And let's just see where the bullshit is, if there is any bullshit at all. And another thing, girls is tired of the hookup culture. Well, why I ain't never experienced the hookup? How y'all tired of something? I never got to experience it. Where did I miss this hookup culture? Like, y'all hooking up? Y'all fucking? I don't know. So this is weird to me, but we'll get into it. Let's react.
Channel, today's topic is hookup culture. I think the girls are getting tired of hookup culture because I feel like I'm seeing more and more videos now of women who are just quite frankly fed up of dating. And I think that also explains why less and less women are on dating apps and why a lot more women are now choosing to just be single. And I don't think that this is something that's exclusive to women. I think there are also a lot of men who are also sick and tired of the dating scene, and a lot of men who also have no desire anymore to take part in it because of the current state of it. And so we're just going to kind of look into...
Y'all might be confused. Like, women might be confused at what dating is. Dating is the opportunity for a man to fuck. That's it. So if you don't want to be caught in the crosshairs of a nigga trying to fuck you, like you don't want a dude to just want to have sex with you, don't date. don't get on dating apps. Don't go out to dinner. I'm not saying don't have correspondence with men, but have a different way to build up your experience with men outside of dating. Because if you only are privy to dealing with men in the context of family or dating, you don't really know men, or work or school. You really don't know men, because these are actual structures where men gotta behave, right? Even your dad, right? Nobody is their act, like your dad's never gonna show his true colors a lot of times. And depending on the age of your dad done lived a whole life where he was a piece of shit, right? You were born and now he trying to kick wisdom and knowledge and shit like that. So to understand men, you got to get completely out of that. And so this is why it's good to have spiritual conversations and spiritual understandings, because if you are dating, and like my viewpoint of men, my viewpoint of whether I'm going to be in a relationship or not is based upon whether I date or not. You going to be in bad shape, sister. Let's go. Sorry.
Some videos.
Just had to
We're going to
throw
keep it
that out
specific to
there.
women on this video, and we're just going to have a look and to see what they're saying about it and talk about it a bit more.
Can we please take a minute to talk about college hookup culture? I feel like it gets swept under the rug so much, like not enough people talk about it. Personally, being 21 years old, I've always kind of found it like harder to relate to people in the dating world because I was always looking to go on like real dates, and I've always just kind of been in a relationship.
It's hard for you to relate to people because of how you look, sis, but
Person. I mean, thankfully I'm my great boyfriend now, so I'm not dating anymore, but I remember when I was single in college, it was brutal, man.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the whole dates thing, to be honest, I think that women kind of ruin that. Hear me out. The truth is, if we're being honest, having an honest conversation, there are some women who will accept dates with guys who they're not interested in just so that they can have a free meal or free entertainment. So because of that, I think there is a category of men who have just completely given up on the concept of dating because they've wasted so much money and time on
men want to fall in love with a woman that wants to fall in love with them. If you are in an authentic situation where authentic emotions are being shared and there's a real chance that you're going to be loyal, then this energy that she's talking about is only coming from a person who is not really taking a person seriously and just using a person up for what they got, and then want to flip it and be like, men ain't shit a lot of times. But let's continue to listen though, because I kind of cut her off.
On dates that never amounted to anything, which is why I think the whole Netflix and chill thing became a thing, because it was a way for guys to not spend money but also still potentially get what they want, if you get what I mean.
Hookup culture is not empowering.
I totally agree with everything she said. And if you're someone who enjoys hookup culture, by all means, you do you, boo. I'm not judging. I want to offer like a slightly different take though. As a brown girl, I went through all of grade school not thinking I was pretty. And then I got to college and realized that I was kind of hot. So for like the first time in my life, guys who I found hot found me attractive. And I would be lying to you if I said I didn't enjoy that attention. I also feel like our generation has normalized like hooking up with someone first before you date them. But the unfortunate reality is a lot of times guys see that as completely transactional and you are fully disposable to them. And so you really don't gain much, especially if you're someone who's like me and you want more of a relationship. I just don't think that hooking up with someone is going to get you there.
Crazy to think when you are liking, and you might not be able to hear what she's saying because it's a language, but when you like a guy, you don't really think about whether or not it's wrong or right, because that instinct is guiding you to the promised land only when it don't end up right. And then you got a lot of theses and hypotheses and like he didn't like me for this and didn't like me for that, or it was transactional, or all he wanted was sex. And I'm going to tell you the truth of all men is we only want sex if that's all you have to offer. If ever a woman says, hey, like, you think about a man and a wife, they got a house, right? A house not an easy thing to get. So real estate, mutual real estate, understanding, reading books, figuring out things about life. Like, because a man, if he not rich and got it all together, he is trying to figure it out. So he will want somebody that's trying to figure it out with him. And if you got all of the answers, that's what it feels like when you're independent and you are just got all of this stuff to say, but you're not really trying to figure out life with the man. So once this is established that you're not in the fight with him, you're not going to be loyal, you're not going to be nothing other than whatever's in your mind, then the next step is to want to fuck. But the first step, like the first introduction, is, does this woman have the potential for me to fall in love with her? And usually is not the case. So when people say that men only wanted to fuck, I promise you, and this might sound crass, this might sound rude, but that's all you had to offer. And now men are men, but like a man that has something going for himself, a man that wants something, a family, sex is going to be 5-15 minutes of the thing. And even if he wants to have sex, right? Because all men want to have sex the same way all men want to eat, all men want to use the bathroom, like all men want to wear shoes, all men might want to have sex. So, and these women aren't necessarily talking about the R word, right? They're talking about mutual sex. It takes two to tango. So part of them wanted to have sex too. So only when it's inconvenient that people want to be retrospective about hookup culture. But when the dudes was like super sexy, didn't matter. But then you want to like meet a guy and give him all of this temperance and discernment and conversation. It gets kind of confusing. So continuing on.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Do you know what's crazy? Men will sleep with women who they would never be seen in public with. And as a woman, I was quite shocked by that, because women would never do that. The type of men that a woman would sleep with is on the same caliber as the type of man that she would have a relationship with. So women don't reduce their standards. I feel like I need to clarify and say physically. Women on average don't reduce their standard when it comes to physical appearance. They'll reduce their standard for who they'll sleep with in terms of personality. Like, she might sleep with the bad boy or the douchebag who she would never take seriously in a relationship because he's not boyfriend material. But when it comes to physical appearance, women typically don't reduce their standards. They have the same standards for who they would date in a relationship and who they would sleep with. Whereas men, it's not the same. Like, the men have this standard for who they will be in a relationship with, but then when it comes to who they'll sleep with, the standard is like here. And I do think that this is having a very detrimental.
I think that's a very interesting misunderstanding that she has of a man's enjoyment for the sexual act, right? So it's not like, say for instance, if I have sex with a person that looks good and I have a person with somebody that don't look good, the common denominator is me having sex. What I feel, what I enjoy, what brings me pleasure, right? Now, if a woman is in a situation where she's like, I don't enjoy this act called sex because of me, that's on her, right? I'm not in control of her pleasure centers. Did she verbalize? Can you nibble on my nipples? Can you kiss me on my neck? Or did she just, lay down and, look at me awkwardly? Did we have the conversation of these are the things that I like, these are the things that blase bloom, right? Because say for instance you like a guy, but you don't have the sex conversation. Well, it's not the fact that he going to dislike you, but he probably going to go somewhere else, because we as men experience sex on the inside. And I think women do too, but after dealing with various men, right, and losing that shit by the time, it's not even a thing when you get into your 30s and 40s, because you done, it's not a thing, it's not a thing to you anymore. So, and these are very young women talking about that they don't like hooking up, or basically don't like having sex anymore. But let's go on.
Mental effect on the dating space, because I know this is going to sound bad, but I think the reason why women complain about settling so much is because a lot of them don't realize that what they deem as settling is actually their level. Because when they were sleeping with these really attractive guys, they thought, okay, this is my level. This person is attracted to me because I'm on his level, not knowing that men drastically reduce their standards when it comes to casual situations. A guy will never make a commitment with a woman who he doesn't think is the best that he could do. If he thinks he can do better than you, he's not going to make you his girlfriend, but he will still sleep with you. Ladies, I promise I'm not trying to slut shame you. If you want to still live that life, that's entirely up to you. I'm not in the business of telling people how to live their lives. However, I would honestly strongly encourage you to consider the fact that some of these guys who you give yourselves to view you as just being better than their hand. Like, that is how meaningful it is to them.
Because hookup culture...
I think that's a projection. And I know like it's a lot of dudes that are only interested in having sex, but that is a truth, right? But it's ultimately where you finding these men. Say for instance, in the last Glamour video, I said these dudes are bots. Why are these dudes are bots? Because they're using a phone. Y'all see this? This is a phone, right? This is a technological device. So even though I'm an organic being, everything that I use this phone becomes a robotic filter. Okay? And so a lot of young men have been programmed, not all young men, but the men that's going to be on these phones, right? They porn is on these phones. They dating is on these phones. And so you got to really get out of the matrix, so to speak, like really get into a sense of clarity, a sense of receptivity, a point of dealing with the ancestors. This is why we talk about this spiritual shit at the end of the day, so you're not a fucking crash dummy for a bot, right? It's nothing that a nigga is gonna say or do that's gonna represent a spiritual truth if it's not a spiritual truth. So it's nothing that you can say that should come as a surprise as to why the relationship didn't work out. I'm talking about the clarity. Clarity is not being so horny that you want to fuck somebody. Clarity is being able to hold space, have the conversations, build up the cachet, build up the ashe to whereas you have a real connection. And if it don't go right, at least you have some type of semblance, some form of respect to go y'all separate ways. But when you just fuck somebody after you just meet them, that ain't nothing spiritual about it. So you only fooling yourselves. But because the relationship don't work out, well, you just fucked them when you met them. So you can never think because you like somebody, you're going to fuck them and that the relationship is going to work out. That line, that train of thought should be dead.
benefits guys more than it will ever benefit girls. So some people are going to disagree with me, but let me explain. For starters, we've been knew that guys mainly just want sex. They rarely want commitment, but will do practically anything to get laid. Whereas girls, we're not super horn dogs. Some of us are, but not to that extreme. Y'all want to hook up like equally and with no commitment, whatever, like you do you, live your life. I'm not judging. The problem is that guys tend to lead girls on because they want to keep getting what they want, which is a hookup. And then girls are painted out to be clingy or obsessive or psycho because they catch feelings. But realistically, it should be understandable to catch feelings when you're doing something so intimate instead of just being painted out as crazy. Now, what do girls even gain from it? Honestly, 5 minutes of faking it and not finishing 99% of the time, I really don't think I'm missing out.
I've always found that term or that language really interesting, catching feelings. Like, isn't that interesting how the natural response that happens from being intimate with someone, which is to develop feelings for them and to start to bond with them, is now talked about in a similar way to like catching the flu. I don't know, it's just interesting to me when people use that term, catching feelings. But going back to what she was saying, as someone who's never really took part in hookup culture, I've never experienced situationships or friends with benefits or one night stands. And I remember when I was in school, when I was in secondary school, people would say things like, oh, you know, you have to go through a hoe phase or whatever, and you kind of have to experience people in order to like know what you like, and so that when you're in a relationship, you don't like think to yourself like, what if, or like, I wish I'd kind of experienced that, and you'll always be like longing for those experiences, so you have to kind of go through that phase. To me, it just didn't.
If you was ever given that advice, that's the worst advice ever. You know, like men will kind of create the hole. Like, you know, what I'm saying by men will create the hole. They'll come in your life, they'll leave your life. They'll come in your life, they'll leave your life. They'll come in your life, they'll leave your life. And after it's said and done, right, whatever the situation, whatever the scenario was, after you don't let them in and have sex with them and leave, you know, the conversation is like, you know, you feel like these derogatory words that I'm just not going to say, but people will classify themselves as that, maybe for them not having no game or no guidance in reference to how to sustain long-term relationships if that's your goal. Like, sometimes women don't give a fuck and they just want to fuck, you know what I'm saying? And they just want to get their rocks off. And that's cool too. But sometimes little girls want to have husbands and families and households and things of that nature. And if that's the case, then it's a particular protocol. And if you say, I want to have children, I want to have a family, and I want to, you know, have a house and have a business with my husband and all of this type of stuff, and we do all of these things, then you can't honestly say, you know, once I like somebody, I'm gonna just fuck them, right? That's number one. You can say, once I have sex with this man, he's my boyfriend, we live together. But you don't got nothing on paper that says if you leave, you can't just fucking leave, right? Once I have sex with this man, he has to stay, because the reputation, like if you have sex with a man, as a woman, you could get pregnant. That means that you have to have a baby in your womb for 9 months, right? If you don't have the knowledge of, you know, certain herbs and things of that nature, and you just in a community where you silenced and you don't want to do nothing crazy, or you don't even know, by the time you know, it's too late. This hookup culture has destroyed our people when you come to think about it, because the guidance and the structure is not there, because the niggas, the robots, can get on the app, can play their little game, whatever game they playing, because they got a cold ass game for all of these women to just be saying that this is a thing that can happen, where you can have sex, a man can tap dance into some pussy, right? And then motherfuckers will sit back and make YouTube videos on how niggas ain't shit. Niggas are some motherfucking crafty individuals because a man inherently knows that he not even supposed to be fucking you, even if you're a 5, right? Because a nigga's a beast. Like a man, he know he shouldn't. But you got hookup culture, you got fucking ice and chains and rappers and all of this glamour type shit that have you enthralled. And maybe it ain't even that. Maybe you a lower level type of girl and you just like a nigga on a dating app that kind of got his shit together. But you kind of like him or you like him a lot. None of these things are instances to say, all right, let me go fuck this nigga. Cause soon as he get the pussy, he gonna act different. I know that in order for me to have a successful relationship with a woman, I need not worry about fucking her. Cause even if she does give me the pussy, the energy that I was building up, the professionalism that I was building up is over. So let's continue. I just need to get that out. That's just crazy to me anyways.
Didn't make any sense. My headset was very much like, why should I just give myself to people? Because it's funny because I used to have this saying. I don't know if I want to say it because it's going to offend some people. Screw it, I'm going to say it. When I used to have this belief, don't be offended by this, okay? Because this was specifically for me. I was talking about myself and how I viewed myself when I was saying this. So don't accuse me of slut shaming or whatever nonsense. But the saying that I used to live by was, I always want to treat my body like a temple, not a McDonald's drive-through. But that was generally the mindset that I had. And because of that, I just never took part in any of that stuff because I just always believed that your body is so precious. Like, your body is so precious. And I just don't think that everybody should get to experience it. Not everybody should get to have that experience. And this applies to everybody. I think all of us have value. And I think that we should be selective with who we choose to share ourselves with, men and women. So if you're someone who's currently hearing loads of people tell you that you should experience that phase in your life, you should go for a hoe phase, you'll regret it if you don't, I can tell you that I never taken part in hookup culture, and I am in a relationship with the same person who I've been with for 7 years, and I am as happy as I possibly could be. I don't regret my decision whatsoever. In fact, I'm
Tell your daughters this now. Tell your daughters this immediately. Call her, text her. Don't waste your life on a boyfriend in high school because your husband, the one that's going to go half on your, not even half, the one that's going to pay for the house, the one that's going to fucking finance your life, have you motherfucking buying plants or do whatever the fuck you want to do and say, babe, I got you. Don't give it to somebody who haven't put in that work. And maybe you haven't developed enough as a human being to even seek more out of a man, because that's more of inner work as well. So it's easy, and it's so easy. I mean, men, they look at women and they get sexually aroused, ladies. In high school, middle school, grade school, right? Your job is to not let them get it. And if he likes you, if he loves you, and if he cares about you, he won't position you to want to have sex with you. So it ain't hookup culture more than it is your understanding of how you should handle yourself in these type situations. Once a nigga gets some pussy, whether you want to fuck him or not, is going to be detrimental to your overall goal of thriving in a society that is not going to condemn you. Your psychology going to condemn you. The society going to celebrate you. The society going to give you every resource you need to make sure that you survive. Going to give you a house, going to give you Section 8, going to give you welfare. They're going to make sure, right? Keep having them babies. So even society won't bring a check to your behavior. Your psychology is going to have to be the thing that wakes you up.
I'm very happy with my decision. So if you know in your heart of heart that you are not built to have casual sex, and you know in your heart of heart that you want to have something more meaningful, don't conform just because that's what everybody else is doing. Do I think that we can go back from hookup culture? I think we can, but I think that women may not know this, but we control the value of sex. There was a time when if men wanted to have sex, they had to marry you. Whereas now, the price of sex is...
Period. It can't be no hookup culture. It would be the R word, right? Women want to have sex with these guys. That gotta end, right? Because if it's gonna be a nigga with some glasses, a nerdy motherfucker that's gonna want to marry you when it comes time for a nigga when you ready to get married, then don't give him the, well, I've been fucking whoever the fuck I've been wanting to fuck this whole entire time. Thank you, nerdy dude. You ain't gonna give a fuck no way or the other. It don't work like that. It really don't.
Netflix and chill. So the standards have changed, and we've allowed them to change because we wanted to prove that we could do it just as bad as the boys. And I think that that is backfiring. Most people who I hear complain about hookup culture are women, to be honest. And I think that there's a reason for that. And I mean, you can fully explore your sexuality and your sexiness and fully, you know, discover yourself and your body, etc., in the security of your relationship. Like there's no reason why you have to explore that with strangers who don't care about you. And I often as well see all the time on TikTok women complaining about the O gap and how men can't even satisfy them and stuff. And it's like, well, if you were sleeping with someone who actually cared about you, then that wouldn't be an issue that you'd be complaining about.
It's not my job to sexually satisfy you. Okay? Because I'm already satisfied. You understand? So, in reference to your sexual satisfaction, it should be an understanding in either the conversation, your ability to communicate, or your ability to be so in tune with yourself that the act is something that you enjoy. Not something that I'm not your fucking worker. I'm not your fucking worker bee. You understand? This ain't a queen bee situation. Right? Because I already like it. And you telling me that you not liking it. But you ain't telling me you ain't liking it. You getting on YouTube and TikTok and telling the world that you don't like it. As opposed to telling the man, this is how I like it. Go slower. Go faster. Go deeper. I can't go that deep. Right. And that brings the conversation with the roses and the toys, removing y'all whole satisfaction, not even wanting to be with a natural man. Right. That's another level. It ain't us. OK, it ain't us. It's all that's accountability. It's your pleasure. Take accountability for your pleasure. Don't ever put that off on no man. That sound crazy.
Because when you're sleeping with a stranger, he doesn't care. He's not going to see you again. I personally think hookup culture was a terrible experiment, and I think that it has harmed both men and women. I'm also, by the way, going to do a video on the negative effects of hookup culture on men. I wanted this video to be more centered around women, but I will also touch on the ways in which I think
it was our whole goal to get some ass the whole entire time. All right. So don't even.
think it's been a negative for men too in my next video, probably on Saturday or next Wednesday, we'll see. But ultimately, as I said before, I'm not in the business of telling people how to live their lives. If you really enjoy hookup culture and it's something that you want to continue to engage in, then, you know, do you. However, I think that there are a lot of women who don't enjoy it. There's also a lot of regret from some women once they reach their 40s for taking part in hookup culture. Because when you see people glamorizing hookup culture, they're usually young. But if you pay attention to the older women, they are the ones who are the most regretful and filled with regret. Because they get lonely. I don't know how else to say this, but eventually you're not going to be as hot as you are right now. And you're going to want to settle down. And then it's going to hit you real hard that the sexual market does not value you as much as it did when you were.
We'll do a part 2 because I got an appointment at 1 o'clock. And I just kind of was just like feeling like my vibration was too high. I was getting too spiritual on niggas. And I just felt like, you know what, man? Let me lower the vibration. Let's get with the scummers. You understand? The nasty McNasties, right? The freak McNasties, and see how y'all is giving it up, man. And I'll probably do a couple more videos like this to lower the vibration a little bit. And then we back to the motherfucking ceiling with this goddamn soul talk, you feel me? But yeah, man, it's the Hood Mystic. Just, kicking shit, trying to waste some time before 1 o'clock. It's 1 o'clock, so let me get to what I need to